So a little bit about myself. I'm the founder and CEO of Envirotech Education. We're an RTO, 10 years in operation. We've put together some courses in sustainability, and now we are coming with a new set of solutions, we believe, for education. What I'm really the happiest about being here is that as a mom, I get to put my passion into where kids are, and I believe that kids do want to save the world, and that we actually really now we have to look differently on education so that we really teach them how to save the world, because it's coming really quickly. We have 3 campuses in Australia, 2 beachfronts in Burleigh Heads and Byron Bay, a creek front in Currumbin Valley because we really like water, and the field station that we have recently started in Honduras, in Utila. Our vision is to bring marine habitat conservation, the part of preserving life, into practical, hands-on type of skill set, positions and courses, and to define marine conservation and restoration specialization jobs that don't exist yet internationally in Australia, to recognize a trade of occupations, similar to have forester for forestry, so maybe correller for correllers, and so specializations that are connected with jobs. So design vocational courses with required job skill set. So we came with new blue skills and courses, which I will present. As I mentioned, the problem we all know, and we've discussed it. I summarized it as a crucial world life support system failure of water and air that we experience in cities falling really quickly, ocean life diminishing nearly irreversibly worldwide, and we are talking for decades and watching it. However, we are all doing a lot of efforts, and there are not enough of us. But the outcome at the moment is not meaningless. There's no real outcome that will give us an indication what will change from now in the next 3 years. If we do have a lot of yearly bleaching events, we may not even look on 2050 or 2030. Maybe it's 2020. Parallel to that, there are a lot of different projects and initiatives around the world. I will try to actually, in this presentation, to go outside to the world, to a project that I've been engaged with, which is called Blue Economy, and how it goes with blue education. Currently, what we see, in addition to all the issues in the natural environment, I will try to focus on the educational environment. So a gap that we have identified, that on land we do have not enough. However, we do have occupations that are trades that, for example, as we mentioned, conservation land management, whilst there are no real jobs that are trade related in the marine. So we do have marine education being taught in higher university, in universities and in schools. And the common denominator is that it's not hands-on, it's more theoretical base. And there is a glass ceiling for non-university graduates to actually get jobs in the arena. They may have amazing underwater skills like indigenous people have. However, if they don't have that in high school to connect the passion to their studies in high school and provoke this passion, so there will be less school dropouts, because they're actually meant to be at the sea, and they're actually meant to do that exact job. So this is the point of change that vocational education can bring to certain communities where there is an educational glass ceiling. And on the other hand, overqualified teams. So you will all see on many conservation and restoration works that you would have people with masters and PhDs leading a project, and that is very costly. If you could have more of entry-level type of graduates from high school that, similarly to studying carpentry, actually they studied how to create coral nurseries. So we did speak about not only the courses, but actually recognition of jobs, position, occupations required to shift from a problem to a solution. The forces that are shaping the ocean evolution, as I mentioned, Australia has the longest term strategy that I've seen, 2050. The World Bank went with 2030. However, the bleaching is happening at the moment in a rate that it could be 2020 before it's really too late. So that means that we need to have in education a real quick type of action to align to what's happening outside and to bring this to the class, practically. The ocean economy and health in the next few years, who can define, is critical. Its destiny will be depending primarily by us, of course, human population growth, we don't know what to do about it, but all the rest we do, and it's a choice. So we have ecotourism and eco-agriculture, waste and sewage management, or not, or not, or not. Rapid consumption, train changes, or not. Clean technologies, renewable energies, innovation, or not. Ocean protection, restoration, regulation, responsible economy, that we ought to teach those kids. Who will teach them that actually they can change their parents' home if we bring it from the school? So understanding that the ocean is not only really being protected or preserved or educated by marine biology, it's actually this holistic approach that brings all those things, including climate change and awareness and solution. For example, participation in Stop the Adani and be more aware and connected. So we must act in multiple dimensions, and many urgent new skills are required. I'm going to make it fun. Every time I stop and change the subject, I will put a short movie of someone who really inspired me. So this one is my favorite, and I'm going to play Sven Suzuki. I'm not sure if you know her. I played this exact movie on World Ocean Day in Brazil in the Blue Economy event, and I was really privileged to have presented in the same day as this girl 26 years ago. So when you listen to this recording, be aware that this is a 13 years old speaking 26 years ago on the same type of event. This event was the event that really, in my opinion anyway, was a milestone for sustainability.
I'm only a child and I don't have all the solutions. But I want you to realize, neither do you. You don't know how to fix the holes in our ozone layer. You don't know how to bring the salmon back up a dead stream. You don't know how to bring back an animal now extinct. And you can't bring back the forest that once grew where there is now a desert. If you don't know how to fix it, please stop breaking it.
So actually it's amazing 10 minutes speech that I urge you to just Google. When you just Google Earth Summit 92, from the many people that were there, you'll find her always first, and her speech is really breathtaking. And I presented this with a set of questions that you see there on the board in front of ministers and senators from different countries responsible to actually decide how do we go about it and what has changed in 26 years by 13 years old speaking exactly what we speak now. What happened, not only nothing, it just got so much worse. And kids are spokesmen, and today with the internet and the skill set that we're teaching them, they can become very meaningful leaders and create a change. And so I believe that there is abundance of materials that are inspiring on the internet that we should include as well as part of our education system. Talking about marine, or marine restoration specifically, if we talk about marine as a position that we would like to occupy. So in high school, we have theory but not practical hands-on experience. Well, it's possible. It requires some investment in aquariums perhaps and so on. However, it is possible to make it practical to get kids to actually do things and even better participate in their environment of where they live. University, we spoke about it before, there is again theory focused, and somehow we need to really look at how we develop what we give kids in school so they actually can go and do a job, so they can have a meaningful job. Through school, they're already thinking, wow, I know what I'm going to do. VET in high school is a key solution because it brings quick qualifications that are actually valid for entry positions even. So innovation, innovative approach and educational solutions. The question is, does all professional require academic university degree for marine? No. The educational glass ceiling. And then what education level is necessary for the trades? We know it's basically, in Australia, Certificate 3 is generally regarded as a trade level for carpentry and so on, and we would like to see how we can match it from the marine. So from this point, I'm going to concentrate on solution, on what actually we are presenting here and what we have achieved and learned along the way. So just bringing to the concept education for excellence, for knowledge, actually it's for creating employment quickly with passion to resolve this problem. when I talk about this problem, it's because we spoke about it quite a lot, and I want to introduce 4 solutions that I believe can really assist high school to be different and to do something that can be exponential. So the 4 solutions are going to be identified one by one. And the first one is obviously what we discussed, and at the back there are some brochures as well that you can see specifically about the process of putting the courses together, teams, and so on. So marine habitat vet training, so marine habitat conservation and restoration from level 2 to diploma. We decided to basically create a skill set that must start from high school. And I believe that if we really talk about the urgent need of change, I think the high school is a place that we should actually, life protection should be mandatory. We're always thinking about it's elective, did they choose it, did they not? Especially in coastal communities, I think that there is a real demand to make life protection a mandatory type of activity for the coastal communities. We would like to promote partnerships. We are doing so many different things, and the power of unity in actually bringing those pieces of the puzzle are very important. So RTOs, high schools, universities, industry, and to align the teaching to projects. So when we ask ourselves, okay, so we are going to teach students how to create and propagate corals and create coral nurseries. However, will they have a job when they come out? Can we promise them that there will be a job to propagate corals, or to at least assist with it? So the project-based approach that we took is actually participate in a lot of industry consultations all around Australia and internationally to see if really there are connections that we can do with practical project-based, and then high schools that are in this area will be highly benefited from this interaction because graduates are aligned with already specific project-based jobs. And yes, certification quicker. It really depends if you want to achieve a full certificate or you're just interested in mangroves or you just want a skill set. So depending on the choice and implementation with the school, it can be relatively quickly to make it possible for the students to interact with the job place with enough skills to be actually qualified to perform jobs that they are wanting to achieve. So in the high school, Certificate 2 in Marine Habitat Conservation Restoration is designed to be actually successfully delivered away from the sea. So there is no requirement to actually be there, and to create occupational health and safety potential issues in logistics. So we designed it with different type of solutions. And then Certificate 3 is already regarded as a trade, and therefore they are prerequisite. We made sure that we don't duplicate any existing units of competency. I'm not sure if, I would like to ask, how many of you are aware of the RTO and the standards, national training overview? Who knows packaging, training packages? Okay, so training packages, because I see not many hands, I do want to stop for a moment and explain, because for me, this is one of the greatest achievements of Australia, really. As a person, I'm originally from Israel, and I lived in different countries, and I've been an educator since the age of 19. I was a software engineer, and I taught programming from age of 19, and my entire life around the world, teaching in China, always in education. And when I came to Australia and actually got involved with the vocational education, and I got into a website, a database called training.gov.au, and here it was, all available, all transparent, modular, clean, easy to understand. So for me, actually participating as a foreigner when I came here in the education system here and being able to understand it all and really enjoy the spirituality of development within this industry, I feel that is an absolute honor for me that when the government actually identified all the skill set that we need to train our kids, they're all made available. And then if a person come and identify a gap, we have the opportunities to come and actually suggest and to create those standards. So we have to actually do a lot of research and identify that for sure nobody actually already implemented in a different way. So our courses are embedded with units that come from different places and prerequisites that are, for example, scuba diving. We don't teach it, but for the Cert 3, you have to bring it from other courses. So there is what is called a package that we deliver, especially as part of our curriculum, and then according to the school needs and where they would like to take the course, we have a lot of flexibility. So the vocational education, you can achieve a certificate too in conservation. Roberta, our trainer who missed probably the ferry in the morning. Yeah, so the purpose with the courses is that they are very flexible. You have core units and electives, and there is a packaging rule that you have to meet. If you meet this selection, you can certify. For one environment, it will mean more chorals. For other, it will mean different units. The idea is to actually completely tailor-made it to the environment of the school, of the students, of where they can actually participate. And then university pathways with diplomas, that is more of managing small projects, and we're not offering at schools at the moment. I will be happy to share the presentation, and there are a lot of different links to movies that you can see further into the different skill set. I will quickly progress through these slides because they just show you the practical hands-on skill set that are going to be achieved. And then I will put another movie to summarize it. So this is how it looks. This is just one example of one type of skill set. The point is that we are in a place that sustainability is just not enough. Ability to sustain, it's important, it's critical, but ability to sustain is no longer enough. Now we need to actually bring in our ability to restore. So starting to use restoration more, not only conservation, and restoration is something we are very well equipped to do. Just a quick run through the technical, less important, because any of you who would actually want to speak about it, then we have Roberta here, and we are more than happy to go into the details. What we try to do is to break through the different level, different type of information streams, background, monitoring. So at each level, level 2 is the lowest level. We're talking about entry-level skills, so participate and prepare, less than perform or compile. So the type of verbs indicate the type of entry knowledge, and basically going through this entire document is a very lengthy thing to do. So we will be happy to discuss it. There is actually a slide coming with a bit more information. But what I want to do is to zoom out for a moment and go back to that statement that teaching marine biology is only going to have an effect to make a change in the deterioration of the ocean if we actually stop and connect it with other type of studies. So remember I said there are 4 solutions for schools to actually take a meaningful step for teaching kids how to save the world. So the goal too is to bring in really sustainability, environmental management, waste management, whatever you can bring in to make it a holistic package so that they can actually understand and be prepared to see the holistic approach of green trades, renewable energy, waste, and water management. Because if we don't bring renewable energy, then knowledge, then we may continue to actually think that the only solution is to continue with fossil fuel until it's finished so that we can, while we do it, learn about renewable energies. Currently, and this is from the World Bank document, just a snapshot by 2010, look at actually the activity, the economic activity. So we're talking about blue economy, the economy at the sea. You see that fish, interesting enough, is only 1%, and then it's offshore oil and gas, and a lot of harmful activities. So for kids to actually understand about it, they must see that it's not just the fish and the habitat, it's the holistic approach of us to the ocean and to the land as well. So we all know this list of issues that unless solved, then the ocean deterioration will not be prevented. And so having those different type of waste and even basic understanding of different units, a bit about what does it mean actually high nutrients and pesticides in agriculture and the food we consume, which is poison parallel, and the outcome that it's a change in approach. Talking about jobs, so we've done a lot of job searching and analysis just to be able to present really, would there be jobs to the students that will graduate from these courses? So I'm not going to go through the entire analysis, but we have seen throughout so many different jobs that can be completely done by students with these skill sets, and they are very high and well-paid job. They are, as you know, it's a very, very active and growing type of job space. And you can see the job types from volunteering to data collectors to divers and rangers and research analysis. I wanted to
interrupt there.
Yes.
So with these jobs, do they actually ask for a Cert 2 in marine habitat conservation, or?
Okay, good question. And I just want to say that deliberately, actually, we are before lunch, and I actually want to interact with you. So I'm going to finish my presentation, and there is time left for questions throughout. These courses don't exist yet. So basically, when I mentioned and explained about the government having packaging rules for courses that Diploma of Business, Childcare, those are occupations that exist and are linked with the course. So if you want to be a gardener and you would have certificate 3 in horticulture and so on. These courses don't exist. They never existed. They are the fruit of our imagination. And Tim and Roberta and a set of scientists from Israel and Brazil, Honduras, we actually made the effort to create an international link of scientists. I've traveled a lot. My kids can be evidence of it, but they're very proud. And we made actually a database of people that are doers, they are builders of all these movies that you'll see. That are our team actually going around the world and creating these habitats. And we want to create, these courses are now finalizing through ASQA. And then we will come to schools and introduce them. There is currently no requirement to go into a job, for example, with hatcheries. There is no specific licensing, there is no definition. It's actually, as we said, there is on-the-job training mostly. You have higher education, you may not even get wet once. You may finish a whole bachelor degree and never meet with the ocean. Or you can actually go and do on the job by volunteering. And most of these real, type of small companies that start, they do it. There is no specific licensing. We want to bring this awareness that's similar to actually having some regulated requirements or not regulated to being a carpenter. So actually, marine habitat conservation restoration is hands-on. Actually, it's similar to carpenter, only underwater. It actually requires
marine equivalent to the conservation and land management certificate.
Yeah.
Actually, is what they're trying to develop and fill the gap.
Fill in the gap. That's exactly.
But no one's actually at the moment, because it's not up and running. No one's actually saying you require a Cert 2 in marine conservation.
Not yet.
Yeah.
And this is at the moment not the purpose at all. The purpose is actually to bring, first of all, national awareness to the need of those occupations. Like foresters, we do need corallers, if that will be the name that we want to bring this opportunity for the Australian government and for the vocational education of Australia to have an opportunity to shine, because as far as we researched, there is no other equivalent vocational course in marine worldwide. It's always in the domain of universities and in the high school, and the vet is kind of missed out. So what we're coming to show you is basically new set of courses, which we have recently finished the project and launched it with ASQA. And as part of our industry consultation, we spoke with different people, some of them in the room. Actually, Jolene gave me one of the most beautiful feedback. She said, dunes, we need dunes. And then we actually sat and researched. We've traveled around Torres Strait Island, spent time there. We've seen helicopters monitoring seagrass, and we said, wow, how about drones. I'm sure that all these kids that are dropping from high school because it's just too boring, they can fly drones and they can do some digital imaging, and then they will have jobs that will save millions because we're actually investing a lot, and it's just bypassing a lot of our youth because of the structure of the program. So we are going to be very happy, and that will be the end of the slide, to continue communication with each of the school. We are part of still a process that is called industry validation, industry consultation. We take the input and we process it with a very big team. And I had more than one people in this room that gave me very valuable feedback in the process. It's 2 years process to put it all together, to put the resources. And where we want to take this project is to bring to the school a holistic, complete package of units coming on e-learning, with everything ready developed, plug and play. So basically we sit with you, we actually send our trainers to understand the capacity of the school, the environment of the school, the environmental issues around the school, the passion, and then we will sit and see if you want to take this type of project or that, or if it's theory-based at the beginning, and align with you project-based that you can bring to the students with a certificate at the end. So when they graduate, they can actually go and find a job in the industry. Hopefully, even in the areas that they are actually already practicing as part of the studies. Because when I mention it, we will only start working with schools that we can see projects. It has to align with projects. And this is why this slide is here, because I looked at what's happening here before I came. I wanted to see what type of opportunities exist here in this area. And I saw that there are several projects. And mainly I saw, that of course, like all the other areas, we see the rapid bleaching and obvious need to look at coral restoration. And we saw different type of project for shellfish and for oysters. And the projects are increasing. The community knowledge and the culture and the social and economical values are more aware, so there is this space. And as you can see just from the photos that are on the website, how does this restoration site looks like? Just make it more evident that we are looking for really practical, using steel cages and project-based, and of course, a lot of culture. The third solution is kind of summarizing those two approaches of vocational courses, one that is just for marine and one that is holistically for conservation restoration, into the high school. And as I promised you, for each section I will have one movie that will really, of someone that inspired me. So now I want to show you a movie of a boy that is very, very dedicated. He's a high school kid. And he actually is writing or producing movies with his mom that he wants you, schools, to embed in your curriculum, because you know what he thinks? He thinks that he has ways to speak to the kids that you don't. That if he speaks, they will see him as a superhero. And as evidence, actually have 4,500 viewers already in YouTube. So he's actually getting the message across, and he believes that if you will support him by using his video in your curriculum, you will get a lot of awareness and people will want to take part and so on. So here is Arlian.
In our ocean, and it's killing lots of sea turtles and lots of sea life. What's this guy doing in the middle of the ocean? I'm talking to an oceanographer, Dr. Roberta.
There is lots of pain and suffering that is happening to the marine animals. It's happening to people. In the ocean, there's micro pieces of plastics that, like, for example, tuna can eat it and it can get into our immune system and it can get into our nerves and cells, which is really bad for us.
Okay, so this was Arlian, and as I mentioned, they are very eager to bring schools all around Australia these programs. They come with some activities. I will be very happy to connect you with Karina's mom. And I think this is really the type of message that I'm trying to say, is that we need to think differently. We've taught for many years in the same ways, and we really need to be super innovative and engaging and let kids actually take leadership. So leadership and actually letting them experience that they are part of. So basically, whilst this is an amazing project, and of course, there is never enough done, so I'm saying it just from a point of interest, at the end of all of these 3 years and process, who will monitor that it's actually working? The University of Sunshine Coast, amazing, but actually to send scientists and look at it, when you have actually people that are diving all the time, they can do the monitoring if they actually know what to do. I can tell you one of the most inspiring discussions I had when I done the industry consultation at the Torres Strait Islands, where so many jobs are there because in front of Papua New Guinea, so invasive species and whatnot. I interviewed one of the scientists that worked in one of the departments there, and he said something very interesting. He said, I asked him, so what do you use? What are the tools used to actually monitor the quantity of fish and so on? He said, the fishermen, they actually come and they tell me, and every time they have a catch, they come and report to me. And funny enough, they think that they tell me that I should pay for them to do that. And I told them, do you want to have fish in the ocean? So come and tell me, because otherwise they won't. And I think about what he says. He actually does need to pay them. And actually, they're unqualified. They don't know how to take data. You know, a measurement, if it's wrong by this or that, they're unqualified to job that they're actually doing as part of a, let's call it, blue economy ecosystem, but unrecognized and so on. So the fact that we need universities to come from outside to where those, you know, communities exist that have the best skill set to already know what's happened, that's the link that we want to bring and the type of communities that we want to start working with a lot of focus on, on indigenous communities and coastal communities. I will go really quickly through it so that, again, you understand packaging rules. This is the basic framework for vocational education. To receive the entire qualification, they will have to do 15 units, 6 core, that means mandatory. Any type of community, any type of school will deliver with those 6 core. And then 8 electives. 8 electives can be chosen by the school according to a specific format. What is the format? According to this specification, minimum from each unit, and then should they wish to create a shorter program that addresses a specific skill set, then they can go for either choral or for environmental mentoring, and then they will have to do on average 5 units, and that's very achievable in a school year of a student that is really active in those areas. And you can see the core units, just to get a feel for it. I won't read it for you, you can just have a quick read. So you can see photography, fieldwork. How great is that, you know, to actually build, you know, a photo quadrat. They need to actually build a frame, like a pyramid, and put the cameras, and be able to calculate the dimension because of the distance of the camera from the space. So applying multi-dimensional skills just for being able to report on a picture in a scientific way. So there are a lot of different areas that kids can really much enjoy, and bringing to the coral restoration. So you can see the different courses, and you see the emphasis on participate. You know, the amazing curriculum that we have now is beautiful, and it covers a lot of areas, but it's research, analyze. There is no verbs that actually indicate you're actually going to do it and learn from the doing. And again, this program, which I'm now displaying, was designed to be done at school. We have all the resources and the project base that, you know, if and when they can be applied in a school without leaving the school. We also put a lot of communications. Remember that those 2 kids that I presented, they spoke so beautiful about it. They can be taking roles in all sorts of positions, like as the beautiful girls yesterday, they spoke so well. And so communication skills and actually understanding what it is to communicate with the public and the issues when suddenly there is an activity on the beach and everybody wants to know what's happening because it's for all of us and someone that actually has to communicate projects and so on. Then the certificate 3, we see more units, 19 units, 7 core, 12 electives. Again, We have different specialization streams that can be adjusted according to the school. And just a little bit about the different units. I will let you read it. So you can see construct and deploy oysters. There are a lot of fun units here that can be used in places like here. A lot of emphasis, of course, on coral that is related to what we are doing here. Marine skills, actually working underwater is a skill. And then monitoring, such an important scientific job. So each of these units actually have a long list of performance criteria, element, necessary knowledge and skills and so on. And as we said, we're happy to discuss with you and share with you all of this. To summarize on the technical part, as I mentioned, we also brought some units from elsewhere and left that flexibility to the school. So if they already have other programs that they want to align, like if you have already an IT program and you actually say, wow, we have digital media and we want to actually use those units they already do for digital imaging or video editing, they can complement for that final outcome. So you can already give them the benefit of connecting with existing programs that you may have. All right, for my favorite part, I admit, as an educator for many, many years, and as evident from the business name that I chose, the Envirotech, I gave it birth nearly at the same time of my oldest daughter, and that's some 12 years ago, and I had that innocence, belief that environment and technology, they are related because the technology has ruined the world with all the damage that we've done, and now the environment, the technological green solutions, the eco-technology, they will solve it all. We will manage to clean it all and there will be an end to it. But then after 10 years, it became clear to me that I'm all wrong. The technology actually had nothing to do with it. Technology has no fault. It's actually us, really. We are at fault 100%. Technology may assist us or not, depending on how we choose to look at it. So if we want to really solve the problem, we need to think about education, about us, and how it connects with technology for sure, but with other areas of our human behavior in this planet as a whole, as one. And what I believe that will be an amazing outcome for your schools. Some of the schools that I spoke, for example, they are theology, they are Catholics, or they have connections externally. The solution that I would like to propose, the solution for and the last for today, is connect with the world, and that magic word that I really love and scares many, including my husband, that it's called eco-theology. Anyone here heard about eco-theology? No one. Wow, lucky I have a slide about it. It's actually my first time putting it in a slide at this forum. So eco-theology is a multidimensional community approach to ecology and theology. Theology not necessarily as a religion, but actually as a world spiritual views. So Aboriginals, they have their world spiritual views. It's not a religion. We have in Japan the Zen, and there are different theologies that have concepts that they can bring. And what they bring, they ignite faith and unity. And it's the biggest network available that we know, that I know, for spiritual leadership in the world. So actually, if we manage to bring this big network of spiritual organizations and so on, we can actually maybe ignite a sense of courage and leadership and passion and utilize all the resources that the community has to work together. And it can be quite spiritual. So before I go to the eco-theology, I just wanted to again zoom out to the world. And I just took this slide. If you put in Google blue economy, the first page that will come is this, and it's a link to the World Bank. And that's the first photo that you will see. That photo illustrates the 12-year project that is the blue economy and what type of jobs, occupations will be required to deliver this economy. So you can see fisheries and tourism and climate change, waste, renewable, diverse set of. And then another photo from that same place. Look at the ocean. That's an amazing photo. It has, clean ocean and a lot of renewable energies and so on. Again, focusing on where the documentation presented by the ocean economy by the World Bank is this type of outcomes and positions. Now coming from the other side, actually to speak about eco-theology as a final set for the presentation before I let you to ask questions, is really explain the concept of eco-theology and why I feel, and so are others around the world, coming up universities and schools with this topic. Many supporters and contributors of eco-theology argue that science and education are simply not enough to inspire the change necessary in our current environmental crisis. And then the eco-theology is basically, that's the definition that you will find on Google. If you just go and Google eco-theology, this is what you will see. And the main thing is that it is focused on the interrelation of world spiritual views or religion and nature or God, if that's how it's called, you know, by religions, particularly in the light of environmental concerns. So looking back at our Bible and the first commandments to look and preserve and protect, and that the eco-theology binds the relationship between human spiritual worldviews and the nature degeneration, and explore the interaction between ecological values and the human domination on nature. And these discussions are already taking place in different churches, and they also have projects. So you have another place that kids can meet after school in their own community, which are actually quite active, for example, in the Torres Strait. I went there, and I must say that this is when I found the word eco-theology at the church at TI. It was amazing. I didn't find the word, but I saw the possibilities. Actually, after a week of, to be honest, not successful meetings, everybody told me, wow, what you're doing is amazing, but I could see in their face, it's coming from here, and there will be zero outcome in real practical way. And then one of the best meetings I had at the end of the 1 week there was with a manager, George, and he was one of the only Torres Strait Islanders managers I saw, and asked him, how did you get to do this and so on? And told me I'm also the minister of the church. And then I went there, and I was amazed to hear that once you take the word God and put nature there, it's already done. It's very connective, and then it comes into the message to the community, parents and kids at once. They all stand there together, and it was very powerful. And just so that you know, in Hebrew, which is my language, we have numerical value for every word. So God and nature, in Hebrew, they have the same numerical value, 86. And we know it as one of the 72 names of God. So basically, reading the Bible, understanding that nature is God, then it creates a connection between all religions and all different streams within, and the basic of community well-being for the future, and the recognition that we are part of the creation. And actually, God stopped on the 7th day. There was nothing written that he restarted the next week. He actually gave it to us. And that concept is the leadership that we can bring from a different dimension that is very complementary to high schools, in my opinion. So here we go. It's important to keep in mind that eco-theology explores not only the relationship between religion and nature in terms of degeneration, but also ecosystem management, and that identify issues and solutions. For those of us who get really scared when we suddenly hear theology or religion. That is it for what actually I came to say, as wanting to pass on as much of my thoughts and ideas about how to make high school and marine education practical with actually outcomes that can flow to the industry as quickly as possible to help with that tide that is coming so quickly. And what I want to achieve for me out of this meeting is to have ability to network with you, to send you an email with a link to some questions. I will show the questions quickly so that you know what you are getting and why. And for you to sincerely answer them so that we can actually absorb all this knowledge, because you are doing it, you're hands-on, you know your students, you know that if you have a program that didn't work, maybe it's because it was too much like that or so on, and you know what is in your capability in terms of resources. So answering these questionnaires and giving us this industry consultation and feedback, and assist us to bring partnerships between different schools and projects. And as I mentioned, we will be very eager to bring kids like Arlen and things that can easily plug and play, not create a burden on the school as much as possible. There are some community questions that really assist us to understand what you see through your own eyes, not through school eyes. So what you've seen as divers and people that likes to go to the ocean, and how you feel it comes in the community away from the school program. So what does it mean to your community? How long since you noticed the community marine life diminishing? What type of educational, ecological, vocational reforms are required to be part of this positive blue economy? How fast can you do it? How fast can you implement it and make it into practical jobs? So communication with the community authorities. And how will it basically create projects and impact the communities in the best way? And of course, the connection to the world. So we hope to create a network of schools and maintain communication on the success between different schools. The practical related to your school answers are about your current educational needs, your syllabus, what are you teaching, which students will it be applicable, is there an interest, what can be excluded or included from what we are going to provide, and would you want us to do a train the trainers, assist with recruiting trainers, because we have the vocational school, we can assist you a lot in terms of workforce development. And what are your training development needs? Are we talking just marine, or would you like some environmental management, or would you like us to help you with a waste management unit that comes with the project? So really be open-minded to give us feedback on how you believe that you can do it, that you can create leadership within your kids, the school, that in 3 years, 5 years, they're there in the field. Hopefully, in our 10 years agenda that we spoke is so critical, they can already do the job now, not graduate maybe 3 years later when they have a bachelor, maybe, it's too late. So really try to see how it can become practical and get them the jobs and the interest. So you always have to have an arrow going up at the end of the slide, right? So this is the arrow going up, and we are here in consultation and government industry identifying needs. We want to get to setting collaborations and creating community engagements and coming up with some cool projects for employment and impact. So within flexibility, as I mentioned, in vocational education, on one hand, there are very strict criteria, performance criteria, elements, required skills and knowledge, it's very prescribed. However, it's prescribed as an outcome-based. So students must be able to demonstrate that they achieved competency in 1, 2, 3, 4. How we teach them and how they get it is completely up to us. When we get to present our courses to the government, we give a strategy on how we demonstrate that our assessment tools are covering those required performance criteria, and therefore there's a lot of flexibility within that as well. Different age groups, different strategies, so we will have a different training assessment strategies for high schools and so on. As well, saying that it is the first time we are rolling these courses, they're just out of the oven, so it will be the first time anyway, and there will be a lot of desire to really find out what's working right and to moderate and validate. So definitely it is our interest to create the perfect fit so that there is an outcome. And we actually have it wasn't in the slide, but we have our project based where we are looking at implementing as a pilot, just elective units and work with specific regions and work throughout the next year to mold the programs to different schools and then start delivering the following year. So there will be a lot of industry consultation and validation to make sure that it's perfectly fit. At the end of the day, different projects can achieve the same type of outcome that students have demonstrated that they can tie a knot or so yes, it will be relatively adjustable to the reality of the job. And now cost, which is of course a very determining type of decision for the school. Well, I cannot promise because this is beyond my decision and my authority to promise. However, I believe that these courses will go on the funded courses list, as we also have the RTO, that we are running different courses and we are participating in all the different funding schemes. So when students in high school, they study with us, they actually we are entitled to be paid by the government, and they, depending on the program, may not even have to pay. So Some funding schemes like the student vet loan give them the access and then they pay for it when they actually have the certain income. This is for diploma courses, which are not what we want to focus on. And with the certificate 3, there are different funding schemes like certificate 3 guarantee and user choice that actually we can bring it to you to the school at no cost. And I believe that this is such an important need that it will be it will surprise me if we will not manage to put these qualifications through the funding schemes. We have been able to go and get approval on all different areas, so I hope that it will come at minimum fee for the delivery. However, depending on what you choose, you may have to put some infrastructure in place. So if you choose, for example, to take corals to the next level and create a set of aquariums, so we will send our teachers to work with you and really make sure that you are equipping yourself correctly, and we will be happy to design and help you to construct the required infrastructure, and that will be an investment that the school either gets through their own funding or through other means. So this is where there may be an expense, and we can work and adjust units that are less resource required so that implementation can come as milestones with specific units rather than go the whole thing. Questions? Hit me.
Do you have any pilot schools yet?
Sorry?
Do you have any pilot schools?
We have a school that we entered into an agreement, and we are working now on the infrastructure of aquariums. I don't want to mention names, but for example, they had last year a very big project with seagrass. They got aquariums and invested a lot in it, and the outcome was that it actually didn't work because it's one of the most difficult projects ever. And taking that same investment in aquariums and so on that they already did would have been much more successful in units that are actually related to habitats that are easy to grow. So we don't have, because as I mentioned, it is the end of a project of 2 years. I want to mention, because I forgot, this project is done in collaboration mainly with the University of Ben Gurion from Israel. So the university academic dean, who is also of marine biology, who is also responsible for a lot of marine aquatic centers and projects, have been the leader from Israel. And as I mentioned, we have Roberta from Brazil. And it is a collaboration that took us 2 years to put together that very detailed framework. And the schools that we will start working with now will be the pilot. And we're going to hopefully have good partners to do it and choose where to start. That is going to be a successful outcome. Yes?
With part of your consultation, have you spoken to the state and federal governments about the capacity to do some of these works within the marine parks? Because most of Queensland's coastal zones are in either federal or state marine parks. So to be able to do any of these works with, there's a permission system in place, and areas that can and can't happen. The Torres Strait's a bit different, and obviously working internationally with those NGO organisations where they do a lot more of that coral nursery work already is a different scenario, I guess, to what we would be working with here in Queensland. So I was just wondering if you've been
extensively. And it was so difficult, even for me to understand. There are so many departments actually to put something in the water. And I've seen and heard about amazing projects. For example, we even proposed a project, but it was so difficult. We actually didn't find a way to actually bring it in. For example, setting scuba diving away from reef by installing all sorts of different attractions that actually take the density away from the reef and so on. So the answer is that part of the reason why we started working in Utila, because there we have perfect collaboration with the government. We've been working, we have a lot of field work, and we went to the islands, to Torres Strait Islands, and we're actually the indigenous people that are the custodians of the sea. They have sea rights and they have more opportunity to make decision, and the reef. As Australians, our main focus is on saving this world wonder protective area that at the moment has so much funding to go do jobs that are no skilled people to actually undergo them, and are so expensive because they do need to have bachelor, master, or PhD. So we all know the amount of money, which is summarizing in billions in the coming year for restoring the reef, the Great Barrier Reef. And we see the jobs, and we know what actually required to propagate, to understand which are the species that survive the bleaching, because some, very few, do survive. Those are the ones that needs to be propagated. We need to see in other countries that are suffering from the same rising temperature, which are the corals that actually now manifesting and wildlife is returning. So this intelligence is borderless, because so are the oceans. And we believe that these exact jobs not only exist here in Australia in our Great Barrier Reef, but they are actually all around the world. And students love to volunteer. You know how many phone calls we got? Can we volunteer? Can we go and volunteer? However, you do need to have some kind of benchmark for your skill set before you can actually go and touch a coral. So the point is that a lot of what we do in life, isn't it, is on gut feelings. And as much as we spoke a lot, and I cannot tell you that even though we have 2 beachfront campuses, I cannot do a thing there, which would be nice one day, which shows places that we believe that we can implement it as part of community, and we created the Cert 2 is not required to actually go to the actual ocean. We can do it in-house with bringing technology. Thank you so much.